The I-Team is learning new details in the tragic death of a 2-year-old little boy at the New Britain YWCA who choked on a meatball earlier this year after the state released hundreds of documents today.
Yeah, state investigators found multiple violations during their investigation. Your chief investigative reporter Sam Smink in studio to explain it all. Sam.
Well, the state found a long list of violations, saying staff failed to call 911 immediately and provide proper first aid. Santi Reynolds' family tells me these findings confirm what they already felt in their hearts, that his unimaginable tragedy was preventable. Full of energy, always smiling, happy-go-lucky. That's how one employee at the New Britain YWCA described 2-year-old Santi Reynolds in an interview with state investigators after his death. Reynolds died during lunchtime, having choked on a meatball given to him by staff. That same employee went on to say he felt Reynolds' death could have been avoided, and staff are not trained properly. Investigators with the Office of Early Childhood found staff did several things wrong while Santi was dying. They say the food he was given should have been cut into pieces half an inch in diameter because of his age, according to their own written policies. Though in interviews, staff gave conflicting statements about whether the policy was taught and enforced. Investigators also found staff did not call 911 immediately. One teacher told investigators she tried calling 911 using the classroom phone, but it didn't work. She then asked permission to call 911 from her personal phone, since they are not supposed to use their personal phones in the classroom. Although the investigation did find several staff members gave first aid, investigators say they did not give the proper kind of aid. Investigators say staff failed to give 5 back blows, 5 abdominal thrusts repeatedly, even while transitioning him from one person to another. The YWCA told investigators all staff have since been retrained in first aid CPR, proper food serving, and medical emergency procedures. Speaking on behalf of Santi's parents today, their attorneys released a statement saying the family feels the death was preventable and relied on the YWCA to provide a safe and nurturing environment. While they continue to mourn the horrific loss of their son, they feel a profound responsibility to ensure the safety and well-being of other children and hope their son's legacy will lead to meaningful change and ultimately save the lives of others. In a statement today, a YWCA New Britain spokesperson said, YWCA New Britain takes the state's investigation very seriously. We have cooperated fully throughout this process and continue to work closely with our licensing partners to address all identified issues. Our focus remains on providing for the care and safety of the children and families who rely on us. The director of the YWCA has a chance to address the violations in a remote hearing on October 23rd. In a follow-up visit 2 days after the center reopened in August, investigators say they found the daycare was not in compliance with staff ratios and had still not been properly supervising children during breakfast. They say the YWCA corrected the issues. Your chief investigative reporter Sam Smink, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.